Ate Maria, kia koutou katoa, no mai haere mai kei te Mercury Bay Community Board inaugural meeting. Ko Easter Smith ko anyone. Welcome to the inaugural meeting of the Mercury Bay Community Board, the 25 to 28 term. Welcome to those who are new and re-elected. My name is Esther. I'm your governance advisor and will chair the meeting until you've elected a chairperson, item 1.5. So I now declare the meeting open. I'm going to start with Karakia.
One moment, if I may, please. Will I be permitted to give a prayer?
Time permitted? Sure, yes, I think so. Is that, be comfortable with that, Luna?
If you're happy as the chair, just remembering that Esther is the chair at the moment, so.
Yes, that's why I have addressed her. Thank you.
Yeah, all right, please stand. Tūtara mai e ranga, tūtara mai e raro, tūtara mai e roto, tūtara mai e wako. Kia tau, te mauri tū, te mauri ora, ki te katoa, hui e, tai. Just to translate, come forth from above, come forth from below, come forth within, come forth from the environment, vitality and well-being for all strengthened in unity. Thank you. Yep, stand.
Heavenly Father, as we gather for this meeting, we ask for your wisdom to guide our discussions and decisions. Grant us clarity of thought and open minds to listen respectfully to others' perspectives. Unite our hearts and minds with a common purpose so that our work may honour you and serve our shared goals effectively. Bless our efforts and grant us the grace to make decisions that reflect your will and bring about positive outcomes. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Member Davis. I will move on to item 1.2, attendance and apologies. I can see that we have all members present. Move on to 1.3, conflicts of interest. So I ask that anyone have any conflicts of interest relating to the decision that you declare.
One, I'm a member of the Mercury Bay Business Association, relative to 3.1 on the agenda. Two, I'm a member of the Whirianga Resident Ratepayers Association, the submission in the public button.
Perfect. So when we come up to the item, which is, give me 2 minutes and we get to that area. So the request for funding, item 3.1.
Yeah, that's 3.1. There's a request from the MNBAs.
Perfect. If you would like to, you can just sit out for that in particular funding request.
Correct.
And the rest you can stay involved in. Anybody else?
Through the chair,
Yes.
can I just say that I am also a member of the MVBA, but I do not consider it to be a conflict in the sense of what we discussed here today.
Thank you, Councillor Grant.
Yes, same comments.
Is that for business association?
Business association.
Right. Fine.
Madam Chair, do you declare door prizes?
No.
I
Apparently,
attended
we have a register that we can discuss afterwards if you like.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it.
We can take that as discuss afterwards. Right, I'm going to move on to item 1.5, making and testing of members' declarations. So I'm going to call on our members and councillors to read and sign their declarations to the Mercury Bay Community Board, witnessed by Mayor Rebel in accordance with the Local Government Act. Start with John Grant. You may just stand here.
Yeah. I, John Grant, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Mercury Bay community the powers, authorities and duties invested in or imposed upon me as an appointed member of the Mercury Bay Community Board by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 and any other act. Thank you.
I, Tony Brilovich, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Mercury Bay community the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as an appointed member of the Mercury Bay Community Board by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, and the other act.
Thank you.
I brought my pen. I, Fleming Rasmussen, declare that I will faithfully and impartially, according to the best of my skill and judgment, execute and perform in the best interest of the Mercury Bay community, powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as an appointed member of the Mercury Bay Community Board by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002 and the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 and any other act. Getting back.
Thank you, councillors. Moving on to 1.5, election of chairperson and deputy chairperson. This report sets out the process for electing the chairperson and deputy chairperson for the Mercury Bay Community Board 25 to 28. It outlines its legal requirements under the Local Government Act and recommends System B for its simplicity and suitability for a board size. I'm going to take this resolution in parts. Has anyone got any questions or clarification for resolution 1 and 2, which is to receive the report and to approve System B of voting?
Yes, I would propose that we do System A, the majority, as opposed to simply the most votes achieved. And the reason behind that is that I think it's important for the chair going forward actually has got the standing and authority of having been elected by a majority of the committee. So I'd like to make that proposal.
So, Fleming, would you like to
I'd like to move that.
move that motion?
I'll second.
Fleming and Grant moved and seconded. All those in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. All right, so now I'm going to call for nominations to appoint a chairperson for the Mercury Bay Community Board. Got any nominations first?
I would, Madam Chair, I'd like to nominate Richard Shelford Woodcock to the appointment of Chair of the Mercury Bay Community Board.
Thank you. Have we got any other nominations? No, I'll do a show of hands then for the nomination for Richard Woodcock to be appointed to the position of chairperson. Do a show of hands, please, so that we know we've got two. So we've got majority for Richard. So I need a mover and a seconder to say that the Mercury Bay Community Board appoints the position of the chairperson, appoints Richard Shelford Woodcock to the position of the chairperson of the Mercury Bay Community Board in accordance with the requirements of the Local Government Act.
I'd like to move that motion, please.
I'll second it.
All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Thank you, Karen. Richard, assume Robert was the chair, please.
Okay. First of all, thank you, everybody, for your support, committee board members, councillors, and so thank you to Peter for travelling over and Mike Bennett for joining us here today. Also acknowledging the public forum. Thank you for those for joining us today. And of course, our governance staff team as well. Welcome and thank you for joining us and thank you for supporting us here today in Mercury Bay. I'll go straight on with it, as I know we've got a bit to do here today. I call for nominations to appoint Deputy Chairperson of the Mercury Bay Community Board. I personally would like to nominate Kim Abrahamson and would like to move the motion and have a second.
I'll second that.
The Community Board appoints Kim Abrahamson to the position of Deputy Chair of the Mercury Bay Community Board in accordance with the requirements of the Local Government Act 2002, Schedule 7, Clause 37. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Okay. I would like to remind the public that you have 5 minutes to speak, and that members can only respond with questions to clarify the matter. I will reiterate that again. Respond to questions that clarify the matter. This isn't a debate. First, I would like to call the Mercury Bay Community Board receipts. My name is, sorry, beg your pardon. First one I would like to call would be Tony Fox. And Tony Fox is here on his behalf.
Oh, morning, Your Worship, and Marta, Richard, congratulations to all those who were elected. And so we're sort of halfway here for today. So I have submitted my points for myself and on behalf of the Mercury Bay or the Woody Area Residents and Ratepayers Association, which my intention was to take it as being read and seek questions from the board. But given the number of people that have come up to witness this meeting and participate in this meeting, I think I'll just highlight the issues I raised in my own right so they know what they were. So that's for the assembled guests. And those items were from me, the issue of transparency, and I think that's important. So whether we agree with where the last council got to on the report suggesting that we should adopt the Ombudsman's report, it's what the public think. It's not what you think. It's what is the perception out there. And so for right or wrong, I'd say that we do need to go and readdress that because it's what your people in your community think that you're doing is the most important thing. I have put a note here about public excluded items, and there was something during the election campaign where one of the answers was, well, we are transparent because you can dial on to the meetings and you can watch what your council or your community board are discussing and how they get to their outcomes. The issue is, and I've done this myself and I've given up, you get to 10 to 10 and a motion is moved to go into public excluded. That means I'm sitting at home looking at my computer, and for the next 10 minutes or hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, you never know when it's coming back. So I've been in that position myself, and I know others have, and it gets to midday and they're still in public excluded and you give up. So in my own time, public excluded was the last item on the order paper, and I'm suggesting that this council do the same. And then the people who dial on have some certainty about when they will be excluded from the meeting and they can go about their lives, given that not me, because I've got nothing to do with my life, but there are other people who are also busy, they have things to do. I put a note about members' reports. I believe you need to reintroduce members' reports. That is about the only way in which your constituents, through their local representatives, can get items onto an order paper. And for my part, I found it incredibly useful, whether it be at council, community board, or on committees I sat on, to understand what other people are doing in their communities. And sometimes it, just turn a switch on and say, oh, that's a good idea what they're doing. Maybe we should do it in our community. So I would strongly encourage you to readdress that. I raised the interest of non-pecuniary interest. That is something that turned up after my own time, and I believe we should get it out of the standing order. The reason being, I think that every elected representative should be able to speak on any matter they wish to speak on to the community, so we know what their thinking is. It doesn't mean when they go to the meeting they can't change their mind, but they should at least be able to articulate what comes out of the community. I've been in the position myself. I've supported something vehemently within my community, but when I got to council and I listened to the wider debate, our priority wasn't as great as some others. I changed my mind. Consultation. Now, my thoughts are we go through the motions with this. Someone says, you know, to go and consult. Well, if you're going to consult, you're going to make it so good that people participate and you've got to listen to it. Because otherwise, you just squander money. It costs $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, depending on this, to consult. If you're not going to listen to it, well, don't have it. And I was almost offended at the last time on one of the issues when I was told, well, we made a different decision because we, the councils, had more information. Well, if you think that we didn't want that information to help us make our views known, it's sadly missing. So I just think wisely about if you're going to consult, what are the questions you're going to ask, how much information you're going to give, and then listen to it. And the last thing I had with the community empowerment, community engagement, I think overwhelmingly throughout the election campaign, if there was one thing that came out from everybody, it was we need to engage with our communities better. And so I think that message has come through loud and clear, and I encourage you to do that. That is me, so I'm under my time. So now on behalf of the Whitianga Residents Ratepayers Association, I listed a number of things here. One is we need a vision for Mercury Bay. Following up with that, a spatial plan. And that spatial plan will be for those communities within Mercury Bay, because some of those things are different. But that needs to take into account what happens in the event of a disaster or an emergency, that where can we bring a ship in to unload stuff, where can we bring an aircraft in to unload stuff or get rid of people to help us. I raised the issue of land value versus capital value rating. So for the Eastern Seaboard, come your next rates demand, you're going to be pretty unhappily surprised. I have gone to look for the comparative table, which I can't find, but that might be me. But I've looked at, I did 20 at random. One was an intersection, and in Whitianga alone, rates went up about 10%. I have other people that have come to me and said, my rates are going up $15,000. Now, that isn't what the consultation told us to do, but that's where we went. So I think that needs to be revisited. Water meters, I just say finish the project. I was instrumental, or one of those instrumental in getting water meters here with the government money. So the money we save by not having to buy new water source or store it, being mindful that storing water for Whitianga is $2 million a day for every day you store. So the money we actually saved should complete the job. Coastal erosion, I put a note down there because the option for managed retreat, while I can read about it, all I say is, you're going to retreat Whitianga, where are you going to send it to? So I think you've actually got to make sure you do what you do to save it and not do that. Fair bit of comment for us, security and policing. and a lot of that relates to P, and there's a bit of that in the national news at the moment, and the use of security cameras. So we know where these areas are, we know where the problems are. There is a street in town, if you went down there now, you'd be able to go and get whatever you wanted. And where there is other behaviour that is not acceptable, maybe mobile cameras, but worthy to think about. And the last one I had down was the Moai Sports Park, and I know Noel's here and had a bit to say about it. But the event on the weekend here was fantastic for WHANONGA-Ā-HUI, as was the one in Thames, and one in WHANONGA-Ā-HUI too, for that matter. So I think that concept of a trust to do the fundraising to complete the project that was started and have that including a conferencing centre can only add value to our town, economic value, and we need that. And so the one I didn't have on there, because I listened to the news today, and it's only really for the councillors, and I see that the Thames people they're all organised. The first thing that came up was the swimming pool. I think it's great that they have a swimming pool, but they won't be districtly funded. So, and I think looking around this table, that won't have support, but I think that will be a distraction for you if that project looks like being anywhere near a district. There'll be plenty of comment that'll take the minds away from the good work that you'll probably do. So for me, that's all I really have to say. I have copies of these notes if anyone doesn't have them, which I am happy to leave here.
Chair, I have copies.
You've just got okay. Yes. I'll take the spare paper home. So with that, I thank you for your time and wish each and every one of you all the very best for your term, and I'll look forward to being and participating. So thank you very much.
Excuse me, we might have questions.
Well, I'll willingly take them.
Again, just reminding to respond with questions to clarify on any matters. So, are there any questions of clarity for Tony Fox?
First of all, thank you very much for the very many good points raised, but specifically on the second part of your submission where you're wearing the Whitianga Residents and Ratepayers Act. Point 6, the security and policing. Are you able to elaborate when you're talking about the concerns of impact of hard drugs? You are referring back to a 2021 meeting, but are you able to elaborate on that, please?
Yes, I can. So there was a meeting held, I think it was September, where Richard was in attendance as well. And the issues with drugs, particularly P, were well articulated through the people at the community services and others, but nothing happened after that meeting. So it's just yet another talk fest where a group of people gave up their time to sit around a table to discuss the issues and a way forward, and it went dead. Myself, one time I went to our police with 6 names of people, their car registrations, their phone numbers, and not one thing happened. And so I know little about this drug, other than to say that most of the behaviour that I see that is antisocial generally is P related. So I think you cut the dog's tail off once, you just go around and catch these people and do what you have to do to them and get them off the street. But it is ripe in this town. And so it's the family lives that are disrupted. It's what happens in the workplace. It's, they talk about employment. I'm saying you've got 2 employers in this town, can't get anyone to work there because they can't pass a drug test. So any one of them is unemployment, because that's where they turn up. So for that meeting, I just think we need we need to understand why do we not do anything about it. I can't add a lot more to that. I don't know if that answers the question, but
Thank you.
Following that meeting in September, Tony, has anything come that meeting since then? With a statement.
Through the chair. Tony, you mentioned storing water in Whitianga with $2 million a day. Is that how did you arrive at that figure?
oh well, I think there's plenty of people here with that the most vitriolic meeting I've ever been to in my life in the town hall. To build the reservoirs to hold the water for here, the cost at that time was $2 million for every day that you need. And so it's easy to be really excited. So I'd say, well, how many days do you want? Do you want 7 days? Do you want 30 days? 90 days? And who's going to pay for it? And so then the water meters came about because we knew that water meters empirically save 20% of water, and that gave us the breathing space. Plus, we had a lot more rain. We had 3-month drought and no water.
Okay, no,
So that's the reason.
yeah, you arrived at that.
So you either have to go find another aquifer or another water supply, or you got to store it. And what putting water meters in bought us time. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Right, next speaker is Kevin Shaw, flood protection. Yeah. Kevin Shaw. Morning. It starts now. Oh, wasn't quite ready. But I just wanted to say congratulations to everybody that got elected. I got my voting 100% correct. So that's all good. Start now. My name is Kevin Shaw. I live at 88 Buffalo Beach Road, WHANONGA-Ā-HUI. I've been a certifying plumber drainlayer for 45 years and a ratepayer for almost 30 years in WHANONGA-Ā-HUI. I would like to thank the board for allowing me to make this submission today regarding our flooding issues from numbers 85 to 89 Buffalo Beach Road. The area of concern is the ground level under the road bridge at Tuatapatapakia Stream, also known as Mother Brown's, and the council reserve thereby. The stream's banks are very minimal in height above the usual flow level. At high tide, king tides, there is barely 100 millimetres of freeboard, preventing overflow to our lane. We're in the lane that runs down beside the road bridge at Mother Brown's Creek. Now, with regular cyclones, they're causing major issue for us as the residents, and frankly, we're living in fear of the next cyclone event. In 2023, we experienced 2 cyclones. The first caused minimal flooding, but the second caused major flooding to our properties. And you can see in the photos that I've supplied, my submission, the banks of Mother Brown's Creek could not contain the huge volumes of water coming along from the tidal surge and the prolonged rain. We suffered through 2 high tides of property knee-deep in water, and our downstairs completely flooded in 500 mils of water. The insurance bill came to $150K for the house and contents reinstatement. This is something I and the neighbours do not want to experience again, and they've all had varying degrees of flooding and repair costs to deal with. I speak on their behalf today and with their consent. As a brief overview, I approached the mayor, councillors and engineers at the time with a very simple solution to our issues, which was to build a simple clay bund and grassed over by the bridge embankment, following the footpath over to the rear of number 289 Cook Drive, which is probably about 80 metres. Council Utilities engineer Brett Houston determined the issue was too complex, and since it would need both a resource consent from Waikato Regional Council and approval from Transit New Zealand, he would not progress the matter any further. My second option was increasing the existing bund height parallel with number 89 Buffalo Beach Road, but this was not looked into any further by council. I'd like the community board to now help us build some resilience and protection from further flooding by allowing the existing bund access way running parallel with number 89 Buffalo Beach Road side boundary and approximately 12 metres north of it to be increased in height incrementally over the 50-metre length that it runs from the rear of number 271 Cook Drive on council reserve land across the access way and to the earth embankment near the bridge approach. We have laser levelled the heights and the existing 9 levels that were flooded and applied that to the existing bunds so that we know we're above that. On average, the existing would need raising 370 millimetres through to 670 millimetres over the 50-metre length. We have 1 minute left, Kevin. The ground falls in height. Approximately 90 cubic metres would be required to do the filling. We've had estimates from coastline excavators that would cost $9,900 plus GST. The raised laneway would be sloped other side of the bund access. So vehicle and pedestrian access is not affected in any way. No detrimental effects to anyone else. I believe this small project could be labelled as landscaping and actioned immediately. We have the summer upon us and the potential for cyclones in the new year is very high. This is a very low cost to protect us, the ratepayers, and we hope you look favourably on this. This is another note. The neighbours have even offered to contribute financially towards us to progress. Thank you. Look, Kevin, I thank you for all the due diligence that you've done in regards to this submission. And I know you've done a great deal of work, and together with engineers and etc., and also having a look at your quotes, etc., that you've done. So I congratulate you on that and bringing it to the table. I have a couple of questions here. Would the proposed works affect public access or existing maintenance routes?
No.
Are you aware of any previous or ongoing flood management plans for Taputatia stream attachment?
No.
Thank you. I'd like to now open it up to the board. Questions?
Through the chair, if I have one question, Kevin. Apart from the cyclone and the major flooding there, have there been other instances where you've had flooding as well?
Basically the cyclones, but with a king tide, heavy rain events which go on for 4 or 5 days, and then Mother Brown's outlet closing off with storm surges throwing up sand and blocking off the outlet. It then backs up tidally and lifts the level and comes through. So we've been very, very close a couple of times to having water through the property. We are low, given that, but the only other time was during that cyclone. The pumps that are down in Jackman Avenue, they failed. The power went off. The generators never kicked on. And so we also wore pretty much all of Whitianga's stormwater diverted down and comes through the back of our property. The engineers have said that they'll sort that, make sure that the pumps and everything are fine and running and in working order. So that is not an issue to us. Our big issue is Mother Brown's low level under the bridge there, that storm surges, heavy rain events that could build up, flow through. Pacific Estate subdivision that was built up 1.5 meters. They all got resilience around them. They create more storm water, which is put into Mother Brown's Creek, which then flows around by us, accentuating our problem. You know, we're just asking for just a very small bank this high built through that would protect us, and we can live happily ever after.
Thank you.
Yeah.
John?
Thanks, Kevin. Have you had discussions with Waikato Regional Council in regard to this work, and can you just give us any background to the demarcation of responsibility has been explained along the lines of TCDC or Waikato Regional Council?
So with my first option, which was a bund to follow the footpath around, that was one that Brett Houston progressed and had talks with Waikato Regional Council.
I only got verbals and phone calls because no one was prepared to put anything to emails, which is a shame because you have no record. But his talking at the time was that it would be all too awkward that if, and him talking to Waikato Regional Council, was that if they lifted the banks of the creek even by 1 millimetre, that could cause flooding to somebody else. I've actually done more work on it and found that Aladdin's Motor Camp, which is opposite us further along in Bongard Road, they used to flood regularly. They went ahead and built their own bund with no consent. They built theirs up around about 1200 high to protect themselves, and they don't get flooded anymore. And so my second option, which shouldn't affect Waikato Regional Council because it's in council TCDC reserve. It's well away from the creek. It's probably 25 metres away from Mother Brown's Creek. What we're wanting is down the side of our boundary, basically, is just an increase to the existing access way to give us that extra buffer. We know flood levels that don't get to a certain height there, and giving ourselves another 300 millimetres above that to
So
that buffer.
supplementary question, if you don't mind, Chair. I've seen recent photographs, aerial photographs of the Mother Brown Creek exit into the sea, which has changed course of recent times. Is that raising any further concerns?
Well, it's actually probably going to be a good thing because what it's doing is curving back on itself, and it's almost carving into the exit on the other side. So it's almost creating its own island. When it does break through, all the water from our end, Racecourse Road end, will actually flow through and come through its own outlet, where all the water from Jackman Avenue, the pump station there, which collects 3/4 of Whitianga's stormwater, that will actually come and gets pumped into the other reserve and comes through by Racecourse Road. You'll effectively end up with 2 outlets. So that could help us. But as a height-wise in the banks under the road bridge, it's just ridiculously low. We're talking this much. And at king tides and heavy rain, the water's coming over the concrete footpath there, So by doing this bund back by number 89, up Low Beach Road and up that side boundary, it goes across to the bund by the road bridge. We could have a one-way pipe through there that collects any rainwater coming down our lane, and that would flow through to the creek, come back up, just level that bund through, or all Bobsy die. There's no way the creek behind our properties can flood and overflow into Mother Brown's. That can only be the other way. And it's a very small cost to do it. Just need permission to go ahead and do it.
Yes.
Thank you. Through the chair. Morning, Kevin. I think you answered my question. The land that you're proposing to have this bund raised, what's the designation? Is that road reserve or Esplanade reserve? Or
I don't honestly know. It's just a park reserve. Have you got photos and things there?
I've got photos, an aerial photo will be good, but that's all right.
Come.
Through the chair, just like Kevin, supplementary to Tony's here, is the land impacted through iwi or Heritage Trust, do you know?
Not that I'm aware of. No. Never seen anyone there.
Where you're wanting to do the bund?
Yeah.
Sorry, no, age before beauty.
Through the chair. So the existing bund.
Yeah.
Was that created when they redeveloped the area?
Yeah, when the Pacific Estate was built, Hoppers or whoever came down with truckloads of
And created
material
the bund then?
and created the bund, but they lifted all of that Pacific Estate subdivision ground levels
So that,
They built those up around about a metre and a half, which was originally all a big flood area into there.
so
Building that up accentuated.
you would say the existing bund is evidentially too low.
Yes,
The second question, did this event in effect down to Marlin Street?
yes, it went right down the Racecourse Road, but it was caused by both
Yeah, there's
things, the surge, the cyclone, the rain event, and the pumps at Jackman Ave not working.
So would you say that the cause of the flooding at your end would be from what's coming down the creek?
Yeah.
Pushing back from the
Yeah.
creek and not from the,
It was observed by neighbours that the overflow, and directly down, you can all see this, that's the road bridge here. Through here, it just poured backwards right through us,
so in effect, heading down towards the intersection with the bypass, where the low point is.
yeah. So Bailey's Motel were flooded, chap next door, anyone on a concrete floor were flooded. Obviously, people in wooden houses are fine, they're another half a metre.
But raising the level of the bund in your mind would help mitigate further issues.
It would take 90% of the problem away. That 10% problem would be the council's pump station, Jackman Ave. That would be the only problem. Thank you, Rob Fleming.
First of all, compliment on the quality of your submission and the fact that you've actually done a cost benefit analysis. I think the point that Councillor Grant made is very valid in the context that all water that flows out is an environmental agency responsibility. So unfortunately, WRC is involved in that. So I'd encourage you to make a similar presentation in that side of it, and specifically since we now got the chair down in Tyrone. What it does from a legal perspective, while yours is a very reasonable request in isolation, if the council, the community board was to proceed with that, it would actually create a legal precedence for similar cases where the scale, the quantum would be.
That's a question.
Yeah, yes, it is a question. So have you thought about asking council specifically for the resource consent part of it, and then with the 5 landowners that you represent contributing the actual cost to it yourself? That's the question.
Well, I don't know. Does it need a resource consent, or we just call it landscaping and put a couple of trees along the side there as well? How much earth do you need to lift in height to require a resource consent? I'm sorry, I'm not up on all the.
No, it's just, you're playing in there's 120 cubic meters of gas that
Yeah.
you might put in. So, well, that's at least for you to consider. Thank you.
Kevin, through the chair, in your opinion, the raising of the hopper development, was there a problem prior to that, or did that exacerbate what you're experiencing?
I wasn't a resident at the time, so I'm not aware of that. Morris Laird, my next door neighbour, he met yesterday with some of the community board members, and he said that was a great big floodplain area where all the civic estate is, which is a huge area. I'm not sure how many sections are in there. It must be a couple of hundred. So that was a floodplain area through there, which by building up, it's now pushed the floodplain around to us.
Was it a hopper development?
Pacific Estates was done by Simpsons.
Sorry, I thought you mentioned hoppers.
Oh, they were the contractors.
Yeah, I was just wondering what
Contracting work there.
purpose for that question was, determining the consent for that subdivision, whether that took into account downstream effects. That's all.
Yeah, I did have talks with informally with a council contract engineer by the name of Ben Whitaker. He came along to that one of the meetings with Brett Houston and a couple of others, the utilities engineer at the time. And his words were, I knew this was going to come back and bite us in the arse. All right, Kevin, So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Trevor and Mustard. Trevor?
Thank you, everybody, for your time, etc. I'll try and be quick because I thought Tony solved most of the problems facing us, but I have a little meagre one here. My submission is really about the community board and the council doing what they've already committed to do, and that's to tidy up the Ā'hui spit. The spit, by its true nature, is a sand spit. Captain Cook reported that back in 1769. There's plenty of photos around showing it last century as a spit, an extension of the beach. And around about 2004, there was some planting allowed of Ā'hui. The planting request coming from, I'm not sure the name, but a science fellow who wanted to check on how Pūhūtakawa could grow in a sandspit situation. And those trees are still there. They're at the northern end of the spit. Then later on, the Forest and Bird came along with what they called a restoration project, which is an odd expression, but that's what they called it, and basically planting dune grasses along the spit for whatever purposes. As part of that, the permissions for that, they were not to plant any trees, nothing major, was just to be dune grasses totally. Since that time, trees have been allowed to grow all over the place, and now there's an ever-expanding hedge going right across the Ā'hui spit, and it grows daily, and it's totally out of control. So residents came and did submissions back in 2019, and probably earlier as well, about getting the spit restored to what it was agreed it should be, which was basically a dune grass area. That was agreed to by the community board and instruction given to council staff to proceed with clearing it back. There was a few months leeway given for Forest and Bird to put an argument together if they wished, which they did not do. But the work never happened. For whatever reason, the staff just didn't want to go ahead with it. And then COVID came along and things like that, and other excuses happen, and community boards change, and people lost sight of it. So 2022, submissions were made again, and it was to be done, and it hasn't been done. So my submission is really simple. We've already agreed that, gone through the background, everything's there. Just say, can we get the work done? Now, the reason why I'm so keen on getting it done is twofold. One, I'm a resident in the area, so it's taking away my views. Every day I look and I've got a bigger and bigger hedge out front. I used to have sea views. So that's my point of view, I guess. But the other point of view is just as major. I think one of the greatest things this town has going for it is that road along the beach. No other town has it in New Zealand. It's a great benefit and a key to prosperity when you come in. If you're coming from the Kuatuna end and you've got that great view going along. Likewise, you come along the Esplanade and Buffalo Beach Road. Nowhere else in this country can you drive along a beach like that. You're providing access to anyone from a child in a pushchair to an older adult in a mobility scooter, and everywhere in between can go along that beach and enjoy it. Some areas of that view we have lost because we allowed building. So north of Ā'hui Bridge through to Brophy's has got a whole lot of building there blocking it out, which is a little bit like Oriwa.
One on the left.
Right, I'll get there, get my breath back. So the Ā'hui spit should be cleared to preserve that vista all the way along the beach and to provide usage for that spit. And so it's a community thing, not just a residence. Right.
Thank you, Trevor. I will open
Thank you.
for questions. Any questions? Sorry, not the floor of the board. Any questions from the board regarding this Better. Trevor, has there been any recent consultation with Ngāti or Forest and Birds regarding maintenance activity?
No, not by me. I've seen Forest and Bird out there. Well, I presume Forest and Bird doing a little bit of planting of grasses a few months back, but not a lot.
Yep. So would any of the removal require any specific environmental or cultural approvals?
I think yes, that the New Zealand Heritage got involved at one stage when we built the bridge got built across.
Yep.
And they came along and said Ngāti should be involved with any development. I think is what's happened. So we're not talking about development. I agree they should be involved in whatever, but I'm not talking about development. I'm talking about maintenance. It's basically a weeding operation.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Doc.
Huh?
Doc.
I don't know.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dash Fellows.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the, well done to the committee, councillors for getting elected. I'm Dash Fellows. I've been in the town for nearly 30 years as a ratepayer, also working around at Bar at Stoke restaurant. I won't go through my submission wholly because you've got it in front of you guys, and there's a lot of photographs. Bex and Andy Driscoll can't be here today. They wanted to be here, but they've sent a lot of photographs through. As a business owner, and also I'm looking at developing next door to the Buffalo Beach Club. The Esplanade from the roundabout to Monk Street here has got no time zones. So there's no time limits for anybody. So you can park overnight, get the ferry, go across to the other side of Cook's Beach and leave your car outside the Mercury Bay Fishing Club, which is annoying them as well. There's also these motorhomes now which are coming along the Esplanade, but also parking right in front of the Irish Bar, SB's, the Harbour House, Stoke, Buffet, which was there, and then the new Buffalo Beach Club. Give you an example. On Friday, 2 vans pulled up while I was setting up the bar. Both parked. There was plenty of parking, but they both parked right in front of the Stoke restaurant. Walked over to them and said, "Excuse me, would you kindly just reverse back and park next to SB, which was up for lease, so you wouldn't be blocking anyone's view." First guy said, "No problems, understand you don't want to see the motorhome," so he reversed back. The second guy, however, said, "I'm sorry, sir, there's no parking." I said, "I can park here, there's no signs, and all it says is boat and trailer." And I went, "Really?" I said, "Look," I said, "we're going to only open in 2 hours. How long are you going to be here for?" "Oh, well, we've got the glass bottom boat." I said, "Oh, so you're going to be here for about 5 or 6 hours?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, we don't want to look at your van, mate." He goes, "I'm sorry, but there's no signage." So I started laughing. So I walked away. Then I went back to the restaurant and then I looked and I saw his wife coming back. I thought, well, maybe both of them have a bit more sense than men, when they're a bit more stubborn on signage. So I went back and saw them, knocked on the door, and he said, "Oh, you again?" I said, "Sorry, sir, I would ask you, could you move your van again, please?" The lady said, "What's the issue?" I said, "Look," I said, "we're going to have diners. We're going to sit there and all they're going to see is your ugly motorhome, I'm sorry to say, rather than the views." She goes, "What do you want us to do?" I said, "Can you reverse back?" "Certainly, won't be a problem." He wasn't happy, got out of his van, reversed back. So problem solved. Funny enough, they come back a couple of hours later and they had lunch. Both couples sat there and said, "We understand why you asked us to move. Look at this view." I said, "Yeah, we pay a lot of money to our rates and you guys get to park there for free and look at this view and have a cup of tea and block everybody else's." Mine's a very simple approach. There's signage up already. All we need to have is no motorhome parking. There's plenty of parking around this place. Even walking here this morning, there's a motorhome parked by the Irish, 2 motorhomes parked in the trailer park, and a bus parked in the trailer park. So we've got issues around here is that people just park where they want, stay overnight, and it's not getting policed. And it's a simple solution. Just put signs up so then we can say, "Hey, look, there is a sign up." So I'd rather have the trailer boats because the trailers are low and they don't block any views. So if you want to move the trailers, I'm quite happy with it. So that's my first submission. Is that within the time frame, Richard?
Yep, you got it.
Thank you, Chairman.
140.
No, I don't need to. So on that point, that's the first point. Second point is the grass, which is in front of the Esplanade as well, which is forestry and beds. I've been in this town for 30 odd years. That used to be a nice place to go and to sit on the grass verge. Most of it was sand as well. Whereas now it's all dune grass. You can't sit on it. The grass verge, which is open now, and I'm not going to say anything about the banana boat because he's doing business and it attracts a lot of people, but he's mainly using the only part of the grass verge for people to sit on. So our tourists, our Joe public around the place, we've got nowhere to go on a high tide, whereas that used to be a nice safe place to go down because there's no wave crashing or anything down there, and you can sit down and enjoy the beach. We can do netball, volleyball, whatever you want to do on, but at least give us some sand area to play on. The forestry and beds don't need that much, surely. Doctorals, we've got all the doctorals at the other end. I don't know why this is happening on this. That's my submission, very brief. Any questions?
Right. Thank you, Dash. I'll now open up to the floor for questions. Any questions?
Through the chair,
Yes, Rob.
these businesses, do they provide on-site parking?
Yes, so there's on-site parking, but not for motorhomes.
And the businesses that you're working from
Yeah.
provides on-site parking?
You've got to have on-site parking, but it's got nothing to do with motorhomes.
Dash, are you intending these proposed restrictions to be applied all year round or seasonally?
Should be all year round. I mean, give you an example, even in the winter, you've got the schools now come along. They park four vans with a trailer and they go over to Ā-Hui and they're parked there for the entire week. There's no parking restrictions. The 4 vans parked there for the entire week, even in the winter. You go to Ā-Hui campsite, stay overnight, they get picked up over that side. They don't want to drive the vans over because there's parking restrictions. There's parking restrictions at Ā-Hui Beach. There's also Hot Water Beach, there's parking restrictions. From here, all the way around to the roundabout, there's no parking restrictions. You can park as long as you want, and no one says anything. It's ridiculous.
Through the chair.
Yes,
Dash, for your parking restriction, are you looking at the whole length of the Esplanade or really just from Mill Road and on from there?
Yeah, just from the roundabout to Monk Street here, even if it's just a 4-hour time limit, it's plenty of time to go and see a business, coffee, Harbour House, SB, it doesn't really matter. But at least then it gives you the entitlement to say, hey, it's a 4-hour parking. You've got a person over here parking. I go to Matt's Cafe, there's a car parked there 24/7 outside the masseuse place. They rent, but they park in front of the place. No one polices it. To be have these signage up saying 2-hour parking, no one. Really. Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's clarify here, so this is not just a lone voice. Have you engaged with nearby businesses or residents to raise the broad support for these restrictions?
So I spoke to John East at the Mercury Bay Fishing Club. They're tired of it. I've spoken to Jared from the Harbour House.
Yep.
Jared's really frustrated because the problem with what he's got is when they park in front, they take up 2.5 car parks. The other problem you've got is they park on this side of the road and their bum hangs out. So it's also a problem for cars driving because they've got to go around them because they park on the angle park. They don't care. They're in town. They're on holiday. They go, we park here. I'm happy. I go and do my bits and pieces. Now I'll go on the ferry and go across the road. I have one on Saturday with the Irish. I said to the guy, where are you going? He goes, I'm going over to... He parked the van there for 2 hours. 2.5 car parks he took up. Yeah. Didn't give a shit. That's all.
One more question here with regards to the dunes. Are you aware that there are any concerns about the environmental or coastal management implications of removing dune grasses?
Personally, on that point there, down on that corner, there's never been many floods down there in the 30 years I've been here. But all of a sudden, the dunes have started popping up and volunteering work, and look good on them, but it's stopping people enjoying the beach. The beach is there to be enjoyed, not to be just looked at.
Through the chair, if I may.
Yep.
Were you aware of the effect Cyclone Bowler had on that strip?
Yeah. But again, it's just it's cyclical, isn't it? It comes back, the beach comes back, everything comes back. It's just cyclical. You're going to have the restrictions, but it's just cyclical, and it always has been. I know this town, near this town for years.
Thank you very much, Dash.
Cheers, Hank. Thank you. And all the best in the future.
Thank you. Okay, next speaker, John Mudd from the Whirianga Bike Parking Community Patrol.
Evening all, congratulations on board we've got. Good to see you. I decided to come along today and give you an update both on the community patrol and bike park, which I'm involved with both. So firstly, community patrol, the update, a lot of you probably are not aware, but you've got an open invitation to come on a patrol with us. I think it would be worth your while to make the effort and get a hold of me, and I'll arrange for you to go out with the patrollers and see exactly what goes on. We have vehicles in Matarangi, Whirianga and Cook's Beach. So they're all doing their patrols, and they operate as separate units with individuals from those areas servicing them. Work in progress. We are assisting Coromandel to have their own community patrol. They've approached us, and we see an advantage that we've already got the infrastructure in place, so they don't have to go through all the paperwork and what have you, and they can bounce off us. And we are in the process of supporting them for developing a patrol. And that's on the basis that they raise money for a vehicle and the uniforms, but everything else, the administration, etc., we all support them and go through all that process of training and the likes. The reason being is that they have become concerned about petty theft and the basic crime that's going on, which is quite right. I must admit, we see it, there's a bit of an ulterior motive in regards to they have cameras over there which are monitored by police. And we want to start doing the same thing in the other areas. And I see that as a real advantage. The fact that they're controlled and monitored by police takes it away from you guys when it comes to privacy, etc., etc. If it's done right, I think we've got a winner on doing it that way. So let's think smart, not hard. So really, basically, we're the eyes and ears for the police. One thing that we're going to start here in Whirianga is having, with the day patrols, walking the main street, particularly school holidays. So you'll see members just walking, just having a presence. That's it. That's all you need quite often with the teenagers and what have you around town. It's all it is, and I think it'll get a better contribution from the community as well on what we're doing and being awareness. So that's the community patrol. The bike park, again, we'd like to see you all up there at some stage. You let us know. We'll put on a morning. Okay. We have the actual park come up. We'll put on a morning tea and you can have a look around on what's being done. This year, so far, we've planted in conjunction with Trees for Survival, 200 native trees and developing a wetlands in the front paddock. And that's all been done in conjunction with Mercury Bay School. In conjunction with Mercury Bay School as well, they're there today. They do every fortnight, they do predator control for possums, and the good thing is we're catching quite a few stoats now, which is the area we want to get into. The increase in the use of the park is substantial, and the likes of dog walkers, particularly in the summer where there's a restriction on dog walking on the beach, they're all coming up the park. So we're providing another alternative.
John,
the dog.
yeah, your time's up. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All the best.
Now, if there's any questions, open up to the board for any questions regarding.
Just through the chair, point of order on that. It's John not talking on two subjects and closed one and then went on to a second. Would he not have another 5-minute time slot for the second? Quite different topics.
Through the chair, that wasn't requested, however, up to the chairperson if we would like to allow for additional time. It's been local that we do have a lot of speakers.
I think it's a very worthwhile community service.
Absolutely, I understand. And John, I've offer you another 5 minutes to talk on the second subject of the bike park, as mentioned by Deputy Mayor. It is a very important aspect of this community, so we would like to hear from that, please.
Okay, I'll carry on. We come to the dog walkers. In general, for every volunteer up there, there's 10 more out in the community giving their time and their knowledge. And quite often, I don't think that's really appreciated. And that's one of the reasons why I think, particularly with the park, we're probably, in fact, there'd be no doubt we're all gold card holders, we're all oldies. So you can see it has a huge benefit to the community in all sorts of aspects. And one is that it means people can go up the bike park and volunteer, whether they sit there and have a cup of coffee and go home, doesn't matter. It's an outlet for all people to do all things. And as things change in their life, they can change the hours. We have no restriction, don't have to be there. We don't have, it just happens that a Monday morning usually is the time when most people are there, so we end up having coffee and what have you, and that's when we're together. But it is important that you appreciate, and that's why I think it'd be nice for the board to come up and have a look, and we're open to ideas because there's stuff coming on all the time. We're also working in with other areas. We work in with the men shed. We have a guy from the men shed comes up and does repairs bikes, which are up there free for people to use. We've just hooked on to the recycled centre and we're working with them on bikes. So we break down any bikes they get that are no good, or we break it down. So we put the aluminium inside and the steel side, and they get rid of the aluminium, but we do the work on that to tidy it up. So we're working in with as many people as we can within the community. That's it.
Thank you, Carl.
Okay.
Look, I'd open it up to questions. We'll come to John and then Fleming.
Thank you, John. Thanks for coming along. Obviously, this is something, as you say, it's got growing numbers of people. Have you actually got any stats in regard to how many people actually have counters or anything like that?
No, we've got no counters, but I really base the numbers on the donations we get, and that's increased substantially. So based on this, I estimate between 8,000 and 10,000 last year went through the park.
Supplementary question. What's your greatest need there?
Toilets and power.
Fleming?
In fact, for the first time yesterday, I got a call from the council saying they'd had a call, someone's phone, and said the toilets needed emptying. That's the first time we've been caught out, because for all the time I've been up there, which is what, 8 years now. Good old John from Bob's Takeaways has emptied our toilets for nothing, all that time without any query. And we're at a stage now where we need to look at that. But power is the other one. I mean, we've had a lot of thefts. We've lost 2 quad bikes, 5 really good solar lights, numerous stuff you kind of blows your mind that people are rather thick, you know, when they pinch it, 50 cent hose fitting, cut the ropes down from the swings, all this sort of stuff.
Fleming, a question?
Yeah, so the comment there is that you'll always have feral members of the local community that is trying to undo some of the very good work that you're doing, and full of all that. What I'd actually like to do, and I come to my question, I'd like to pivot the side of it, because you've now spent 10 very good minutes of giving us an update on the very worthwhile supporting courses that you're involved in. I'd like to hone in on the CCTV and the community patrols. What would you like the discretionary fund, as an example, to be able to support that specific initiative with? Is it vests for the ones who are doing the patrols? Are there other ways that you could see us supporting specifically the community patrols and the CCTV initiatives that we're working across?
Yeah, we're starting to put that together now on what we think is the best benefit, which we can then come to you and have a meeting and say, how do we best handle this? These are the problems we see. These are what's available for us to do, because I'm working with police to get them to get the big ticket. If we can get the big ticket in the police, we're on the home run. That's the way I see it. But I'm open for comments.
Through the chair, walking the beat as such, are the police in support of that? Or is that just the community patrol adding something extra to it?
The police will be in support of it.
Tony?
With your indulgence, Mr. Chair, I'd just like to thank John and his team. If you could pass that on to the team, thank you for your service.
Good. No worries.
Thank you very much, John. You're an exemplary example of someone who dedicates their time to service. So thank you very much. Next speaker, Gary.
Whakatau, everyone. Your worship, and congratulations to all the council members and community board members. I'm here to talk to you about water. I've lived in this community for 52 years and I've owned a house since 2003. And I know that lots of things have changed about water. I'm here to talk to you about water. I am unable to email you guys, so I've had to be innovative, and I would like someone in the community board help me lift the ability so that I can email.
Would you like me to do that? Maybe two.
I just only did 4 copies, sorry. I've got my own one that I can give back to you guys. So, PCDC charges us $1.34 per cubic metre and has increased it to $1.62 per cubic metre. I'm just here to discuss water, the cost transparency. Can the council provide a detailed breakdown comparing the projected costs of using the Auckland-based company City Care versus managing services locally or regionally? This ensures clarity on whether outsourcing increases or decreases expenses. I thought we were leaning more towards Tauranga, and then suddenly we got something in the paper that said we're leaning towards Auckland, which gives me the heebie-jeebies, very much so. Number 2, the impact on water rates. How will contracting an Auckland-based company, City Care, directly affect our residential and commercial water rates over the next 5 to 10 years. Helpful understanding on the long-term financial implications for ratepayers. Okay, so biggest concern is for me, if you look at the last page I gave you, it's $800 was my blanket water rates bill last year. And after talking with staff at TCDC, they said it was going to be halved, which to me is $401.95. And then not even 6 months later, it's $437.23. Don't mind $20 to $30. And then this latest rate bill is now saying that my halved water rates is now $577.73, which to me, that's not half. That's $175.78 more than what was promised a year ago. And that times 8,000 people in this community who have houses is at least nearly close to $1.4 million. And so I'm just wanting to know why the big jump. I was really happy that Viola was going because it's an international company. All our money was going overseas. I am a little bit happy that it's Auckland, but not very excited because Auckland charges their people $2.14 per cubic meters of water. The local impact. Has the council assessed how outsourcing to city care company might affect local jobs, contractors and the local economy? Addresses the indirect costs and community impact
1 minute left, Nera.
beyond the headline rates. The fourth is accountability and service quality, and the other one is future flexibility and risk. I just wanted to just end with this because I've run out of time, but important factors about water, why, and Māori culture. Wairua, it's a spiritual significance. Water is seen as having its own wairua spirit and moody life force. It connects people with their ancestors, the tipuna, and land and all living things. 2, the source of life. Wairua sustains all forms of life. It's the greatest connector. It is essential for health, well-being, and balance within the natural world. That the saying of ko te wai, te ora, o ngā mea katoa means water is the life of all things. Sorry about my Māori pronunciation. Purification and cleansing. Water is used in Karakia prayers and into rituals for spiritual and physical cleansing, such as the birth, death, and after visiting sacred sites, such as our urupas. The last 2 is cultural connection. Rivers, springs, lakes are often seen as ancestors or descendants of deities, such as Hara Whenua Mea, the personification of fresh water. Iwi and hapu identify strongly with their local waterways, which form the part of their identity and which forms...
Nera, if you could wrap this up, your time is...
Okay. I just wanted to say that water belongs on our earth. It's not to be washed away out to sea. It is, my brother builds 160 houses and all the water tanks are under these houses and developments in Auckland. Every development that goes on out there should be keeping the water on the earth and been pumped around their houses for usage.
Thank you very much, Nera. Look, I'd like to now open it up for any questions regarding their submission on...
Sorry, I couldn't finish the Māori perspective.
And Nera, just a couple of comments. One is City Care is actually a Christchurch company, not an Auckland company. I don't know if that changes your perspective or not.
Well, it's further away, so more costs of getting them up here to do the work.
Yeah, so they were appointed to replace the French company that we had operating. And the second thing, have you actually had the opportunity to query this with TCDC.
I can't email TCDC. I've been banned for 2 years now, and I'd like that lifted because it makes my life harder to communicate. I've had to go and ring community board members with emails bouncing back, and I find it a challenge because I've lived here for a long time and I care about the whenua, and I've seen changes.
Sarah, I would suggest going into the office.
Hey mate, I've tried that.
But is there any other questions for Nera? Well, thank you very much, Nera. Appreciate you coming. Okay, our next speaker, Noel Hewitt.
Recognising the chair and all the new elected members. Congratulations, and look forward to the challenge. I've lived here for, my name's Noel Hewitt, by the way. Lived here for over 40 years, worked and been involved in all sorts of aspects of life. And the previous speaker, especially Kevin, talking about the problems on coastal erosion and the effects of is huge. I could speak for another hour on that, especially coastal erosion, but I won't. What I'd like to do today is to introduce something that I saw in the New Zealand Herald and I'll read it, and it was headed Asset Recycling. In the New Zealand Herald on Tuesday, the 11th of November, our Prime Minister, Christopher Luxon, had an article on asset recycling. Asset or capital recycling is a practice of selling one asset and using the proceeds to buy something else. Luxon stated that many government assets are mismanaged and performing badly and need to be sold. He also compared Singapore in his analysis, where this country used the asset recycling to great effect. The central government initiative could well apply to local governments, where millions of dollars are spent on underperforming projects. Why should local government be burdened with this dilemma and take a serious look at asset recycling? So I felt it was worth bringing to the meeting because it's got huge connotations district-wide, this one. Yeah. That's about me. I could go on about other things, but I won't.
Well, thank you very much, Noel. Look, any questions from the board regarding submission? Yes, Tony.
To the chair, morning Noel. What assets did you have in mind when you were looking at that the council dispose of to buy new assets?
Well, there's so many private assets, and I'll give one example that's not far from this room here. Jack Cooper used to be a tea cutter, lived just along the road here, and his place was sold. I gather, and I'm not, I'm pretty well positive about the amount. It was sold for $1 million to council. Council sat on it, and when questioned, they said it's for parking. Well, that's all very well, but nothing happened, just nothing. So what a waste of money, I believe it is, on unused land. So that would be a non-performing asset that I would, and they're all over the place where people are. We've got 25 toilets in the district, and I'm sure that most of them are used and very effective, but perhaps some of them could be sold and privately ran, and this type of thing is everywhere in the district. And I think it's a very, very good article about this asset recycling because it can be taken seriously, looked at in an effective way, and it would be a benefit to this council to actually do something about it.
Thank you, Noel. Any further questions? Excellent. Thank you very much, Noel.
Pleasure, thank you.
Move on to the next speaker. Steve Lloyd from Quick Speech.
I was actually hoping. Good morning, everyone. I was actually hoping to follow Paul, so I'm going to sort of predispose myself what to say. I've met a lot of you before, and we're going Cook's Beach Lakes. Tony Fox was around as a councillor when I first raised the question of doing something about the lakes, and the Queen was still alive in those days as well. So anyway, nonetheless, I'd like to publicly acknowledge John for his efforts, John Grant for his efforts in getting us to this point with the cleanup of the lakes. We've got a mechanical harvester coming in probably on the 20th of November, is what I hear. Tried this, council did this last year with a mechanical harvest. It's a little bit like mowing your lawns. You've got to keep doing it. And last year it was probably an abject failure. The cost of, I've asked a guy doing it, his cost is about 2,500 per diem for his machinery. Probably going to be there for 7 to 10 days, and within a month that stuff grows back. Okay, having said that, we don't have too much option. There's grass cut is coming in shortly. That application is currently before DOC. It's like watching the grass grow. Actually, it's taking so long to get any feedback from them at all. My concern about the harvesting, and I think it's probably a good thing given that they will be coming in the coming months, early next year maybe, it will leave something for them to eat. By putting a spray on it would just drop the whole lot to the bottom and be a worse type situation with a composting effect. My concern with the harvesting, apart from the process itself, is making sure that the contractor that does the job is taken to task by staff who appoint them. It's a bit like mowing a lawn. If you leave a strip, you can see that when you go and mow over it. But in the lake there, the weed is so thick, it's so buoyant, it will float to the top, it will catch. And he doesn't really know where he's going. And as well, by nature of the setup of the machine, he's got a 2.1 metre edge coated type ram, which drops on a hydraulic ram down the front. Can't get close to the bank by virtue of the shape of the bank. His thing doesn't tilt, it's just horizontal. So he will leave quite a bit of stuff around the edges. And also we need him to be instructed, and this is where the staff must come in who do the job, to set it up so that he cuts as low as possible. I mean, we don't want our lawns mowed on the highest possible setting because you're going to have to do it straight away again. This weed will just take off and go ballistic over the summer when the water warms up and the levels drop. What I would like also to find out, if it wasn't for John, we wouldn't really know what was going on. I do talk to one of the staff members who's a water services representative. He's not being disrespectful, hopefully he's not the best communicator. It would be nice to be able to get some direct feedback from staff rather than have to go through the process. And I understand the way it works with councils are committee board not permitted to direct staff members per se, but that in itself seems to be an issue that we just don't have any feedback directly. Save everyone a lot of time. Councillors got better things to do than run around finding out what's going on with the lakes. So I don't know whether that's something this community board can involve in to have a little bit more better communication skills direct from staff.
Steve, you have 1 more minute left. But that's it. Yep. Thank you very much, Steve. Appreciate you coming all the way from Cook's Beach.
Oh, sorry, could I just add one more thing? Sorry, that minute. While I was talking about the lakes, and I've mentioned this to John, that in terms of sort of like what I term wasteful spending, there's a drain coming out of the lake which drains down the creek, which will need to be secured for when the grass carp, assuming they go in. I know I saw the Veolia guy down the other day taking pictures, which he's sending off to staff members to replace those concrete collars that sort of like almost channel water into the pipe. Now, they had cracks down there, and the only people are going to get hurt by that is the eels on the pond. But he was going to get Donovan's to come in, quote, to replace those, pull those things out. The Veolia guy agreed with me. Pipe still works, the drain will work just as well. But is there any control on things like that for spending? Yeah.
Thank you, Steve. I'd now like to open it up for any questions regarding Steve's submission. Yes, ma'am.
Morning. When they cut the weed, what happens to the offcuts?
It floats to the surface and the guy changes his cutter over for a big rake. So it's got prongs on about this deep, about that far apart. He just puts that on and he drives around and scoops it up.
And then what happens?
And he dumps it on the shore. And then Donovan's sent a digger and a truck in to pick it up. I think they, don't quote me, but I think they dumped it up at the treatment plant, Cook's Beach treatment plant, on the ground up the back there somewhere. It dries out pretty quick. When they leave it to de-water for 2 or 3 days.
Okay.
And then they'll cart it away and it dries out. It becomes almost like candy floss. It's
So has anyone looked at, just so I know the background, if you need to load on a truck with a digger, has anyone looked at using a long reach digger and just
it's too big for that.
Too big?
Yeah, the back lake, the forebay, which is Lake B, that's much smaller. They've tried using a long reach digger, but it's not. Yes. No, they've got the right system. It's just a case of if it's done properly. And that's what we would like to see, the staff come back, even while the job's taking place, and make sure he's doing it right. If this contractor goes, he comes from Mercer, he tows a big rig with a big boat with a barge thing on it from Mercer. He'll be busy at this time of year. He's got contracts for the Huntley Power Station and the Waikato, those sorts of areas, and he won't be hanging around here. He'll be gone once he's done the cut. So you need to nobble him while he's here to make sure he doesn't run away and won't come back.
Any other questions? Well, thank you very much, Steve. Appreciate it. Paul Hopkins, and while Paul Hopkins was coming up, look, I'd just like to address the public forum on protocol and housekeeping. Just by keeping your comments to yourself in regards to that, it can be quite distracting to the person that's come up here and is allowed 5 minutes to speak. I would definitely appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Richard, do you want me to speak on my role as chair of the Mercury Bay Ratepayers first, or do you want me to speak my personal one first? Or where would you like to go?
Sorry? Yeah, well, here's what I'll do. I wasn't aware that you had two different. So I will give you 3 minutes for each
segment.
Yeah, for each segment. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, I think I should be able to get through it.
Okay. You want to got your on?
First of all, congratulations, Peter, John, councillors, Tony, and Fleming, and to the new board. And it'll be great to be working with you all. Right, let's start with mine first. TCDC decisions have made it difficult for some regions in our electorate. The lack of foresight into development in Cook's Beach is a prime example where subdivisions have been allowed to go ahead with inadequate provisions for historic problems the area faces with stormwater events. Cooks Beach is in a situation now where virtually 95% of all stormwater entering the catchment flow to one exit down Cooks Creek to the western end. The result of not looking at other alternatives and planners being very closed-minded has meant a percentage of Cooks Beach properties have had their LIM reports tagged as prospective flood risks, thus devaluing their properties. TCDC have had the opportunity over the years to rectify a lot of these problems at the development stage, but because of a number of reasons, failed the community, and now the community will pay. I would like the TCDC Planning Department to change their criteria. I want them to look at developments and subdivisions from the end user, ratepayer, person who pays their salary perspective. I want to see them take accountability when they screw it up. I have a few examples of where I live in the Longreach subdivision final stage. One, no meaningful solution to the Cooks Beach stormwater flooding by making allowance for stormwater flowing into Lake B, Steve was talking about, to flow through the wetland to Pūrongo estuary in the planning of Longreach subdivision. And by the way, sorry. By the way, global warming was on their radar then. No single unisex toilet at the large children's playground for the 165 site Longreach subdivision. Number 3, no esplanade pedestrian connectivity after the footbridge at the children's playground. No, you can't walk all the way around. They have made it a dead end. Taking a 6 metre corner of 1,000 square metres plus section would have fixed it, but no, the planners didn't think of people living in the area. An area of 6 houses that have nothing more than 60 metre ordinary width driveway for access. I know because I live in one of them. Try getting your car and caravan out of your driveway into another driveway instead of an actual road. Developing land where the resulting bank has slipped dubious infrastructural facilities that have made it more unstable. Where are the peer reviews? Right. 3 more minutes. Right. Okay. Gee, I don't know whether I've got enough time. Didn't I give you 5 minutes? Okay. Right. Spatial planning. We've talked about spatial planning in Cooks Beach, but basically it revolves around the area, people's well-being and how they feel. The area of Mercury Bay South being a great place to live, come, work, play, holiday, visit, relax, entertain, celebrate, retire, and generally have an awesome time. We want them to feel safe doing all these activities. We want our area to be affordable for our younger generation to live here, wanting a great lifestyle for their families, not just for the wealthy. We want to foster growth. We have a first-class primary school for our area that has huge local family, parent and grandparent involvement. We want to support that. We want first world services for our residents, and we want to future-proof our area from natural disasters as best we can. Mercury Bay South is in a unique position of having most usable residential housing land already developed, the peril of being popular. There are a few flat areas left for development apart from the surrounding hills. We want a council that promotes sensible growth without ridiculous pandering to things like areas of natural beauty. The horse has already bolted for houses on the hill's stupidity. Worrying about what fishermen can see while they're bobbing around in the ocean is downright insulting. We want decisions from our council that are forward-thinking and make sense for our community. This means foresight and thinking ahead, not just 10 years, but 30 to 50 years. Mercury Bay South is the closest hub area to Whitianga Township. We all have a vested interest in our nucleus town. It is the hub that we want to see thrive, because if they do, we do. Transport between our two communities is a vital component of who we are, so links are critically important. Right, can I speak to what I sent you guys now? Or because these guys haven't seen it, I might trip over a minute or two.
I'm going to let you do that.
Oh, thanks. Thank you, Richard. Councillors, community board members and council staff, the following is a list of areas that the community feels needs attention to make a difference. They're not necessarily in total order of importance, as some items have been in progress for some time and have already had money allocated to them from the council budgets. Also areas where communication between council and ratepayer associations can be improved. Transparency from staff when working with local communities, real consultation on changes that affect the community. The Ratepayer Association should be consulted on major happenings within the community. Number one, footpaths implementation and restoration. Continuation of Hicks Place, Hardy Place, Hogan Pass, continuing from Cook's Beach Business Centre Reserve to the beach. Footpath lifted dangerously at 143 Captain Cook Road, reinstatement of 16 to 24 Charles Green. I mean, these are things we just want looked at. Road and speed limits, they've been on most communities' minds. Safety concerns, no parking lines on Captain Cook Road opposite the shopping area, median strip. It's a death trap at the height of summer. Improvements to the curve of the road opposite this area. Improvements to the roadway entering Pūrongo Estuary Reserve. That includes the boat ramp, access road, removal of dangerous pine trees going along Pūrongo Road. Speed limits to Cook's Beach Village. Historic signs highlighting the significance Cook's Beach played in early history, Maori and European. Tourist signage, Cook's Beach identity signage. Stormwater issues, solutions, ongoing consultation with working group stakeholders, 1.5 years plus and counting, a lot of stake for homeowners, not the least having their LIM reports tagged.
1 minute left.
Okay, Lakes A and B, I think that Steve has controlled that okay. Coastal erosion, other controls other than rock walls is preferable. Textile bag groins, flax small bay groins are a good example. WSC changing their head in the sand stance on anything other than planting grasses on dunes would be a good start. Also invest in a sand dredge that could be used to unblock a considerable amount of our local harbours and pump the sand back on our beaches. Boating facilities, about that, toilets and playgrounds. My biggest wish is to see council staff, frontline and senior management working with local communities to get the best outcomes that make local lives richer. Everything positive the community would like to see happen doesn't have to be a roadblock.
Right.
Any questions?
Any questions? Board? Regarding Paul's submission? Paul, which issues require immediate safety versus long-term strategic planning?
I think the roading around the village is the most important in the short-term aspect. There are obviously other things ongoing within our community with regard to the stormwater issues. These are going to take time to resolve, yeah, safety with speed limits, etc., probably is the most important short-term thing. Yeah.
Has the Mercury Bay South Ratepayer Association received any recent correspondence from TCDC staff regarding progress on stormwater or Lakes A?
Not for quite a long time. In fact, Frank, I'm on the stakeholders group with Frank Keegan and Justin Fisher, and no, we haven't received anything for probably at least 5 months.
So any of these listed projects have already been allocated funding within the existing council budgets?
Yes, the stormwater one, I think Greg Roach and what's Frank? Yeah,
they've got 1.7 million, I think, over time. They haven't decided how they're going to spend that. They're still working on that, I think. But yeah.
Okay. So to narrow your list down, and I know it's really hard, what are the commanding top three priorities that the board can only address a few in such a short time?
Yeah, I would say that those speed restrictions for the community, the Sue Costella's done very well with the parks and reserves lately. I class the stormwater and the Lakes B. Lakes B obviously needs attention because we're coming into a summer period. Still needs cleaning out.
Yeah.
The other things are ongoing, so we're making our way. It's glacial speed.
Yeah.
But we think it's happening. I suppose one of the things that frustrates us more than anything is we're getting a consultant in who, you know, doesn't know the area. And in a lot of cases, I think this has been half the problem with how development is carried on in the past. They've gotten a consultant in to do something. And a consultant will do whatever a developer wants to do. You know, they write the report to suit them. That's what they're all about. And a prime example is with Winton. They were going to put the road through to Scott Drive to make it a connectivity thing. They knew what was under the ground, obviously, otherwise they wouldn't have bought the property. But they got a report on the creek coming down that starts in the hills at the back, which obviously is probably only 1 kilometre, 2 kilometres long. And now the stream is historic, you know, it has special meaning to Maori and things like that. I mean, yeah, it's the waste of money in what some consultants do is mind-boggling, and I think we all know that. But yeah, practical solutions is what I'm all about.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, thanks, Paul, for coming and thanking the Mercury itself.
Right.
Your efforts too.
And we look forward to working with the board and yourself, Richard. And yeah, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Right. Are there any other speakers in the public forum that wish to? Sorry. Peter, were you? Tony, did you have your hand up?
Which is times.
Okay. Look, Sarah, you've all just opened it
up to any speakers.
Yes, you've already had your time.
This is a different subject.
Yeah, no, look, we're going to move on from that. One question on the first. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I would request to move it on a second for the motion that the Mercury Bay Community Board receive the speakers in public forum, including and tabled material and correspondence. Second. Second. Thank you very much. All in favour, say aye. Aye. Thank you. That has been carried. Okay, so I'm told that we are at the morning tea break, or we can pass the resolution to go past. What? 2 hours, 2.
I'll second that.
So through the chair, at the meeting, you have 2 hours where we can consecutively run. At that stage, we either need to take a break or we can go move a motion to continue if everybody's in agreement. But if you'd like a couple of break, that's it. Cheers. Call a break. You know, adjourn for morning tea?
So would like to adjourn for morning tea, or would we like to go through?
I just suggest that we take a 10-minute break. Sure. Just to freshen up and then back into it.
Okay. All right, let's do that. Look, thank you to the public forum for being here, and look forward to further engagement with our community. We will now adjourn for a 10-minute break. Okay, let's reconvene. The 2.1 general explanation of statutory requirements for elected members 2005. I'd call on Mr. Hopkins, Service General Manager, who would like to present the report.
Kia ora board, good to be here. This is round number 4 for presenting this report now this week. So as part of that first round of meetings, council and community boards are presented with this report. It is an information only report, and it just sets out for you a bit of an explanation around some of the pieces of legislation that surround you in undertaking your roles. It's intended to give you awareness of what those pieces of legislation are and a brief summary, just so that you are aware of how they apply to the roles that you will be undertaking as a member of the community board. I'm happy to take any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Are there any questions or clarification for staff? Going to take that as a no. Just who was the seconder for that motion?
Maybe we receive the report.
See, thank you. The Mercury Bay Community Board receives the general explanation of statutory requirements for elected members 2025, report dated 4th October 5. Moved by Tony Brolovich and seconded by Kim Abrahamson. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Motion carried. Excellent report. Thank you. Right. 3.1, principal funding 2025-2026, Mercury Bay Community Board Discretionary Fund. I'd like to ask Dean Allen, the District Manager, to present the report. Thank you, Dean.
Good morning, Chair. Welcome to the Mayor, Councillors and new Committee Board members. So on page 17 is item 3.1, a request for discretionary funding. It's presented on behalf of Heather Bruce, who's away today. So you'll see that you have a balance of just over $53,000 in your discretionary fund. The application is for just under 12,000, and the applications are set out in Appendix A to C. The board has full discretion over its discretionary fund. Therefore, staff don't provide any recommendation, and I'll leave it to you, Chair, as to how you'd like to go through the order of the applications.
Are there any questions of clarification for staff?
Through the chair. Morning, Dean.
Morning.
Has the board set down any criteria it assesses these against? When you're saying it has complete discretion, is it just wide open, or did they, when they set this fund up, have a list of criteria that they would weigh these against?
And through the chair, no, there is no criteria at this time. At this time, it's completely up to each community board. There is some draft criteria coming with an updated draft grants policy, but that won't be available until the new year. So at the moment, it's up to yourselves.
Through the chair, Dean, if the discretionary fund is not utilised in full by the board, what happens to any balance at the end of this period?
Yeah, through the chair, if there's any balance left over at the end of the year, it would go into the retained earnings. That would be retained earnings that are earmarked for Mercury Bay. So it'd be the Mercury Bay retained earnings account. Those retained earnings are then available to the board if there would be overspends in your operational budgets in the future.
To the chair, are there existing retained earnings for our board?
Through the chair, yes, there will be. I'm unaware of the balance of those. I could find out the balance from finance, but I'm just not sure whether those staff would be available. So sorry for not preparing that question.
Right. Thank you. Clement.
So one, I think if it goes into retained earnings, it doesn't go into retained earnings discretionary fund. It goes into retained earnings of that. Can you explain to us, for the newcomers at the table, how the original budget of the 55K was established? Because obviously this fiscal year, right? So I understand it expires, runs out 30 June, but why is it 55K, not 75 or 25?
Yep. Through the chair, each of the boards previously set their own discretionary budgets. So you'll find that some boards, such as Thames, have chosen to have a slightly larger one. And other board areas such as Coromandel and Mercury Bay have a slightly smaller one. And really that's a decision of the board and the councillors at each LTP. But these budgets have roughly been this way for the last 6 years or so.
Complementary question. LGP or annual plans? Must be annual plan you're referring to.
So,
from a budget perspective.
Yes.
Not LGP, right?
Through the chair, the discretionary budgets are set during the LTP.
Okay.
And these have been set with inflation accounted for them. However, it would be up to the board, each board, they could just change them during an annual plan process.
Thank you.
I had another question. I don't know if now's the right time to answer it, but I'll take guidance from you, Mr. Chair. It would be helpful to know if any of these applicants have made and been successful in receiving grants in the last 3 years. That would help in our decision making, I would think. So do you know, Dean, offhand, if any of these applicants is now the time to ask, or would it be better to ask as we went through?
Through the chair, I can answer some of that. Obviously, the area manager, Heather Bruce, would be best placed, but I do know that Eloise Green was granted a similar amount last year for the same activity, and that's in the report. Also, the Manako Trust granted some support for their event last year by the community board, and also the Business Association has been given grants in the past, maybe not exactly for the same as they're asking for this time.
Any other question? Okay. Okay, thank you. I request for a mover and seconder. Note that we can go through each application separately. Governance will put on the screen. Motion, the Mercury Bay Community Board receives a request for funding 2025-2026. Mercury Bay Community Board Discretionary Fund report dated the 30th of October 2025.
I'll move that one.
Yep, thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Resolution 2. So now open for debate for resolution 2.
Just a point of order. Just wish to clarify because the member who moved this actually excused himself from this discussion earlier with conflict of interest. So I just raised that as a
Through the chair, Fleming will need to, due to this conflict of interest that he has declared, he will need to move from the table when we discuss the item on the Mercury Bay Business Association. So we've only moved to receive the report at this stage. We're moving on to 2, which we can break down into parts so that he can do the rest of the discussion. That makes sense, Councillor Grant? Yeah. So Councillor Newson?
Well, are we going through whether it's green now or are we going through them? If they're not, I'll leave the room when we get to the MBBA ones, but I'm not going to leave the room for the ones that are not conflicted. Right.
yeah, and I don't believe you're conflicted. So
I'd be happy to stay in the room if that's acceptable to the chair as opposed to sitting outside like marginal nomads.
Yes, banning orders just say that it's non-financial conflict. You can still move on the table. You don't have to leave the room.
Okay, so we're now going to debate resolution 2. It's Eloise Green, Fairy Pirates and Princess Picnic. She's asking for the amount of $520.
I'm happy to lead off the discussion on this for Eloise Green. As a community board, it is correct that we supported this for a similar amount in the last year, I believe. It was for an event last year. It was well attended and very popular. There is a lot of work that goes into this on a voluntary basis. So I think it sort of stacks up on a number of areas. I don't want to necessarily at this stage get into a debate around court services and whether this falls into court services, because I think we'll have ample time to have those debates at a more specific nature in regard to when we look at some of our funding challenges that we have. The discretionary fund that we have here, I believe, is a targeted rate. Is it?
Yeah. For the chair, it's against the Mercury Bay ward, so it would be part of that activity, locally funded activity.
Yes,
I think that was a yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know, as such, we have rated people and have that fund of money. So we need to use it for the purpose that it was designed, and therefore I support this one for Eloise. I think it's a great community initiative.
Yes, Kim, followed by Tony.
Through the chair, I further like to support her. I also think that at the time when she's doing it, it's also able to include our non-resident ratepayers and using part of their contributions to us as well. And I also like the way that she's not all around pushing alcohol and music.
Yep.
And the fact that she puts in so much time herself throughout the year to get ready for this financially and what she's about to do.
Through the chair, I'd like to speak in favour of Eloise. She's been a long-term contributor to community orientated events, functions and their lives, family and children orientated, and I would be in support of this grant.
Tony?
I support it. I just have a question around where she would hire the road cones from. Is it our local roading contractor? And if it is there any goodwill that they might?
She the roading code?
Yeah, she's
not roading code.
Oh, sorry, getting mixed up.
She's balloons and
Oh, okay.
Various.
Yeah.
I've got the same question for the fund.
Yeah.
through the chair late too, she's a strong steampunk enthusiast as well. So she does well for the interest of steampunk this side of the coastline to complement the event held in Thames.
Through the chair, I support this payment, but I've just had a niggling concern that it doesn't become an annual payment. This will be the second time that we've made this grant to her, and I'm just thinking at the time that the payment is made, a mention is made to her that this is not to be taken as a regular annual payment.
Through the chair promotes, so to move with that, we would simply have discussions with Eloise to encourage her to look at alternative funding and support her in that ability as community board members.
I also like to bring any discussion. Can I get a mover and seconder for that?
I'll second.
Yep. So moved by John Graham, seconded by Peter McKenzie. Moving on to the next, the Mercury Bay Business Association.
Point of order.
Sorry, beg your pardon.
So there's a move and a second, but then you need to.
So all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Thank you. Right.
So again, point of order.
Yep.
Your hearing is clearly better than mine, which is not on metric, but you need to then call all of those against and all of those abstaining, so just from a procedural perspective.
Thank you. All those in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Against? It's moved, thank you, Greg. Right, let's move on to the next one, which is the Mercury Bay Business Association. And that is.
Through the chair,
Yeah.
can we just move on to the trust and then we'll move back to the business?
Okay. That's a Monopole Trust, which is the activity is the Waitangi Community event scaffolding. They are asking for the amount of $5,681. Open that up for debate. Tony.
This is one of those ones where I wondered if there's any goodwill, whether they're getting it from Peninsula Scaffolding, whatever, coast to coast, whether there's any goodwill with those companies to at least partner with TCDC and fund part of it. And I don't know if that question's been asked. So, no.
Through the chair, yeah, I'm unable to answer that question. What I would say is that I know that the Business Association has been working with, wide-ranging people in the community. I would imagine that they have attempted to ask those questions, but I couldn't confirm that for sure.
I did, through the chair, I did hear feedback from last year's one that
sorry, point of order, but we're not dealing with the MBVA applications at the moment. We jumped.
Okay.
So the question was related to the trust for the Waitangi celebration.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to.
Yeah, that's what you asked for, but that's not how Mr. Allen.
Oh, I can say.
Yeah. So sorry, same answer to the question, but talking about the trust on this occasion, I'm not sure of their exact workings, how they've negotiated, what they've negotiated. I am aware that originally they proposed a larger stage, and that was a little bit more expensive, and that has now been scaled back to a smaller stage, which is cheaper. That's the extent of my understanding.
Through the chair, I did hear feedback that the stage was proportionately bigger than the event last year, and that's what I was wondering, if they're going to have the same size stage, whether it's too much and maybe we could part fund it. But I'm happy to hear what the other members have to say.
Sure. John Grant.
I take a leaf out of Peter Mackenzie's book here and say that whilst I support this in this particular case, I think there should be some discussions in regard to ongoing funding. So it's not seen to be a precedent that there's funding this each year. It would be really good to see this, this event's a great event, first of all, so we should be supporting or getting in behind it. But I would be more comfortable personally if I understood the financial aspects of this and how they were moving it to a model where it would be self-sustaining over a period of time to, and what that journey would look like and how we could through that process. There's a lot of people, it's very popular, who go along to see this, and for that reason I'm more than willing to put my support behind it. But I'll just add that counsel to it that I'd like to see some further discussions around future funding and moving more to a model that is self-sustaining.
Through the chair, for me, is Ngāti involved? Are they part of this trust? And I note that the event is only 4 hours long. And in my mind, it's quite a substantial fund from ratepayers for 4 hours.
Yep, through the chair, Ngāti are involved. The original presentation around the trust for a similar matter was presented by Joe Davis and Billy. So we do know that Joe Davis is involved in the trust.
I'd just like to build on John Grant's comment. But first of all, I know that the event cost $25,000, and Ministry of Culture and Heritage have contributed this money per the note, and then the balance is being asked to be put up by the ratepayer. If you take John Grant's, I'm supportive this time as a one-off, but I think going forward, also building on what Councillor Brylovich was saying, if we're celebrating that, it would be natural for the wider community to contribute because it supports the activities that are outlined. But similarly, then that I think it's a natural expectation that both mana and tangata whenua will contribute towards that too in that side of it, as opposed to expecting that. So I'll dovetail that onto not for this to become a annually reoccurring set of expectations, mate.
Through the chair, are there any other wards being requested for funding? Do they hold their own events, or is this event to bring other wards in to support?
Jane, can you answer that question?
Yeah, through the chair, there were a number of events held over the Christmas period through to Waitangi that are supported by different boards in a number of different ways, and those applications are made in a similar fashion with a discretionary grant report. That's historically, and for this summer, I'm only aware of one other application at this point in time, but there have been some reports in August that were granting things over the summer period for other ward areas.
Through the chair, in relation to this event only, because it's on such a special day, I gather that they're not holding events in Thames, Coromandel, Whangamata, the likes. Are they doing one here, or are there other events organised? If they're only doing the event here, and wishing to have people attend here, then to me, it would be appropriate to seek funding from other wards to create a bigger, better event.
So,
I'd like to hear maybe comments from other members, but should we be making this conditional to them securing the other funding? Because although they've applied for the 20,000, it doesn't say that they've been awarded it. And we should maybe tag, if we're of a mind to support this application, that it be tagged with the condition that they secure the other funding.
Through the chair, further to that, the ongoing nature of it, I'm more of the mind that this year we support it in part, not the whole amount of either half or 2,000 as well.
Through the chair, I'd just like to add to Kim's comment there, and I support that. So I think it's a worthwhile event, but I don't think that we should be looking at granting the total amount. Yeah, I would grant them some lesser amount. I wouldn't like it to have other people planning events to come to the board and say, well, you gave this event $5,000, we want $5,000. So I just think we don't want to set the bar too high.
well, all of you make very good arguments. There with a lot of them, yes, Peter, John, and others that won this event. I think I'd like to see the trust come back to us with other funding offers or whoever they've gone to actually reach out, so they're not solely reliant on two funding streams. I think also Peter McKenzie makes a very good point that we have to draw a line somewhere and letting people know that this is an annual fund that they continuously can come back to. We aren't a money tree. So we have to be very realistic about that as well. While I agree it's a very good event and it pulls the community together, I think it's also like to see them draw on other funding opportunities under the community board. And I would also agree with both Kim and Peter. I would probably wouldn't see myself supporting the full amount. Probably support maybe half or less, like $2,000. Just putting a figure out there, and hopefully that would also encourage them to then look for further funding, which hopefully would allow them to create a relationship with others who they're getting their funding.
Through the chair.
Yes.
I agree with, because being newly elected in on the requirements of trying to reduce rates and save funds, we certainly need to get our house in order before sort of elaborating on the extent of how we can distribute funds. Do need to look at retaining the amount, even though it is discretionary fund. There's a lot of work ahead of us to be done, and it is going to be quite demanding of our time to get it right.
Tony.
Just from the discussion I've heard, people are putting the figure of $2,000 out there. I think that's a little bit, I wouldn't like to jeopardise the event in this case by putting in a minimal amount. I was thinking more like 4 or going 2/3 or something like that. And that would give them a bit of a warning thing that, hey, this isn't a right, it's a privilege. And some of these organisations, maybe that they could look at a gold coin koha, to help fund them for next year.
Just from a point of order perspective, we've been asked in the board pack to approve or decline the application as it is. So unless there's actually a remit for a change, which would be quantifiable, is being put forward, then what we need to address is approve or decline. What I would then suggest the chair to consider is that if it was being declined in its existing form, which is how I'm reading the room, then we should reach out to the trust, and between now and then, to our next meeting, potentially work through some of those very many good questions and observations that have been made, to make sure that we don't jeopardize the events, to make sure that they actually do get the heritage funding and the likes, but work actively with them, and then potentially for them at the next meeting to represent an application that answers some of those questions that have been forwarded to them.
Sorry, a point with Fleming's thing is that the next board meeting is probably after the event. So maybe we could, I don't know how we could put
Through the chair, through the chair, I'm just comfortable. Chairperson is to do an amendment to that figure, where you can approve the figure and put that motion. So if there's a figure, we can.
Okay. Yeah. So my suggestion, I think we can vary something by changing a motion to suit with what we would like to put forward. But I agree with the sentiment of the approach that should be taken. I would support paying full amount in this particular instance, but have an opportunity to meet with this group and explain the position so that we can try and establish it on a different format for future years. So I'm happy to support at the higher amount. I think that was the sentiment that you were expressing. Yeah.
I'm actually going to go to vote here on a figure of $4,000. So I'm going to put forward that motion. Anyone?
Point of order. You will have to vote on the remit that is there based upon what Councillor Grant has said, and then a change could be introduced to that. So as opposed to unilaterally picking the number, I'm comfortable and supportive of the sentiment Councillor Grant outlined. So if you have
can I just clarify? There is no motion on the floor at the moment. So
I agree.
So therefore, we don't need to vote on that because it hasn't been. And if 1 and 4,000 has been moved, then that should get put, and then we can vote accordingly.
So, Sid, go to vote here on the figure.
You will need a second.
Yeah.
Sorry, I need a
I'll second.
second that.
Can I just speak to the motion, please? That I'd just like to say that I don't like people who are doing such great community work to receive a surprise of a reduced amount of contribution without having the respect of a conversation. And for that reason, I am strongly suggesting that we maintain the level of what has been proposed. And I will therefore be voting against this motion so that we can actually have that dialogue with them and establish that protocol for future events, but support to make sure this event isn't disrupted in any way.
I'll speak to that too. I think we're splitting hairs in the context of 4,000 versus 5,190. I think it's much more important to have that dialogue with the go forward side of it. So I will also be voting against the 4,000 and in support of the original motion.
Through the chair, if I may, I just have a concern of what does the greater community desire. Is that we've only just come into this, and it's just I'm here for the community. What do they want on the matter?
Just with a point of clarification, it's 5681 is what they're asking for. Okay, because I heard.
Sorry, there were 2 lines up. I apologise.
Yeah, made the same mistake earlier. As seconder of that motion and hearing the discussion, I tend to agree with John Grant's position. So as seconder, can I actually vote against it?
Sure.
So we can go to another motion? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So did we put the motion? We'll do a tally.
Okay, so
You could just withdraw your seconding, then we wouldn't actually have a motion.
Okay.
Let's,
Well, I'll withdraw my second.
now let's go to the substantive motion, which is the highest.
Okay. With that being done, the motion has been removed, so let's go to the original, which is legal vote, actually to support the 5,681. So, that motion. Tony?
Can I put you have to second that before I put an amendment to that motion?
It hasn't been moved yet.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were.
So, can I, someone to move and carry?
Do you want to move or shall I? Because you want to add some words to it.
Well, I did. I just wanted to put a tag onto that.
Yeah, you go for it.
So the answer is yes, he wants you to move.
So what I was going to tag on there was that we arrange whether we request staff to enter discussions with them about next year's event or another alternative funding means so that that gets some action behind it. Otherwise, it'll just drift and not happen.
Dean?
Through the chair, just to add some context, it's normal that when we respond to a community request like this, we'll send it in letter form, and we will work with the chair on the content of that response. So you would have an opportunity via that mechanism to set an expectation and invite whatever you would like those discussions to look like.
Okay, I would like the motion to have some guidance for the chair and also so that it's formally recorded so that if they come back next year and the letter didn't actually say what we intended it to say.
As a suggestion, see if this works, right?
Okay.
That we move to approve the amount as per the report, that we ask staff to write a letter and to invite them after the event to come and meet with the board at a subsequent time to discuss any future funding applications.
So there's a motion that we.
I think I just moved that one.
Yep.
So
Can I get a second for that?
Oh,
Sure. Thank you, John. Move it in a second.
now we just need to put that.
Something to
Three
vote.
moments.
Yeah.
Just to these regarding ongoing funding insurance for future funding opportunity options. Is there any other words that you would like to add to that? Councillor Grant, through the chair.
I think I was, and I'll take advice from staff here. This is suggesting that staff approach and have those discussions, or is it best to invite them to come and meet with the board to discuss future funding?
Expectation.
Because ultimately it's the board's discretionary fund, so it'll be the board that will ultimately decide. So sure, I'm just trying to get staff's
Through
clarification.
the chair, yes, wanting to the chief executive arrange a meeting with the trust. Are we comfortable?
Yeah, so they could come to a networking day or to a formal.
So regarding future options and expectations.
Yeah.
Yes. That's not what check, Councillor Grant, are we not?
Not the chief executive,
Right.
asking the request that the board.
That they come to meet with the community board, host the event to discuss future expectations around funding.
Chair, you comfortable with that?
Comfortable.
Councillor?
As a mover,
Just need a second. Well, to begin.
I think we got a second of it.
Go back to.
Can I just suggest,
Are you
just
comfortable
a
with that?
bit painful,
Okay.
rather than request the board, so we're asking staff to arrange for them to come and meet with the board.
I think the board here is actually the trust board, not the community board.
Yes. Oh, I see.
So the applicant
But
is another, you would use the word the applicant.
yeah, well, then it's around the wrong way because it refers to both board and trust. So,
I through the chair, full trust name in there, I'm just trying to,
right. And I
just.
Yeah.
Sure. Sorry.
okay.
It's been moved and second, so I can speak to the motion.
Yep.
I support it. I'd also, because I'm curious to know what the economic spin-offs for these things are for the general business community, and it could be money well spent to drive some of the economic growth around the business.
The only thing that is missing of that at the moment is based upon what Councillor Grant said was after the event has been held in 2026 on Waitangi Day, the 6th of February. So really, we're getting this event over with them and then we'll look forward from there.
Through the chair, did you want that added?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind. And rather than options, future funding expectations. I'd sum it up a little bit.
You happy with that? Come to a second of that motion.
Don't know if that's sort of implies that it's straight after the event or.
No, that's absolutely fine, yeah, because that incorporates also the opportunity of just talking to them about how the event went, the success of it, and then into future funding. So.
Put to the motion. Say aye. Are in favour?
Aye.
Okay.
I'd like to have recorded I abstain from voting.
With the chair, I abstain from voting due to consultation with the community at large.
So any against?
Put a plural S on the expectations. That's just my OCD.
I will fix up in a little bit. Through the chair.
Motion carried. Right, and we're now moving on to the next business association.
We're going to do the Statutory.
I've got it.
Like, yeah. Both are Mercury Bay Business Association.
Ah,
Yes.
okay.
I can vacate.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes.
May I start the discussion rolling? How the town looks, I think, is really important for the town as a whole. And it's very appropriate for a discretionary fund, I think, from the community board to be used to be able to provide things like flags around the place, to be able to go a vibrant, nice place for visitors to come, and very good for residents to be able to see. It adds flavour to the place. And I am really surprised to see this funding request coming through Business Association, which represents a small element of that, not a small, but a part of an element of the community. And it's really good to say that they have put their hand up to, to be the people that are coordinating this activity. I would have thought it more appropriate really to be something that almost the community board should be contemplating doing to add that flavour. So you can gather from what I'm saying here that I actually really support this. I think it's an important part of communities to be able to make them look good and encourage, you know, people to get into the spirit of that holiday season. And I thank the Mercury Bay Business Association for taking willingness, you know, to actually take the lead on being involved in doing it. A little concerned when I read all of the detail that sits in behind here in regard to getting work done to test the capacity from an engineering point of view of our flag, of our street. Because that's starting to get into to thin ice in regard to what is robustness and what is not. These things have been up the flagpoles in previous years and none of them have fallen over. But I am sure that an engineer could find a reason why it might under certain circumstances. So I support the funding, and I think we should try and be as flexible as we can in getting in behind it. The only other thing I might add to it is the design of it, to make sure that whatever flags we have are designed in a way that actually represents the flavour of this town. And I think they have been in the past, so that would be great. I think the last ones had a survival period of about or up to 2 years. So whether they are contemplating, you know, something which has got the robustness, or whether that's just the life of a flag is 2 years, I'm not sure. But yep, I support it. I think it's a great initiative for the town, and thankful of this association for being willing to do it.
Through the chair, the extent that the flags going out to Joan Gaskell Drive, it's from what started as being basically the town centre beautifying sort of project, of which is very much encouraging the community to take pride in their place. Extending it out further can start then a bit of an overreach. And then, yes, it is about the install, maintenance and removal of the flags being able to be done cost effectively. And I would be recommending that they have a period of X amount of months that they go up and then come down so that they can be retained for the next festival period, and you'll get some more lifespan out of the flags. Yes, I am in agreement. It is a nice touch to do.
Tony?
Yeah, there's no funding in here for the removal of them when they become tatty. And so while you get a short-term benefit with them looking all nice, when they start to deteriorate, are they just going to be left there and actually be a negative? So I agree with what Rob's saying in regard to a time frame, and also they could be a seasonal thing, but I don't know what their life expectancy is. The other thing, I'm wondering if we're getting painted into a little bit of a corner if they don't secure the funding, because there was some question marks in here around the balance of the funding. So to me, it would have to be that's our limit, but it's conditional to them securing the rest of their funding. Like, for instance, it says here, they haven't got the quote for the traffic management yet, but they're expecting $6,000, and help offset costs. MBBA has invited members to sponsor a set of flags as a marketing opportunity. While uptake has been slow, we anticipate recovering approximately $6,000 through sponsorship. So there's some question marks around whether they will actually secure it. So obviously that needs to be tagged to them securing the rest of the funding.
Thanks, Tony. Kim?
Through the chair, thank you. I'm in support of it too, especially for the way it makes the town feel. And Joan Gaskell Drive. I think that's a nice welcome. That's our main road into our town centre. That helps that look a bit inviting as well. I would almost like to say that we could have a little bit of input, or even if it's just run past us, what's actually on those flags, to keep it in with the spirit of our town and our resort town here, where we by the beach Christmas theme, whatever.
I may, Chair.
Yeah.
Asking businesses to contribute may in turn have businesses then want to have their own advertising space on that particular flag as such. I would propose that we could work with the business association to focus on the town centre in the interim to ensure that something is put in place prior to the festival season, and look at building a project with community board members to look at something for ongoing.
Yes, Tony.
The businesses they've got quotes from, I'd like to see locals obviously do it. I'm into circular economies, so that money that the board spends, our preference is to ensure that the local businesses benefit, provided they're not asking for stupid amounts of money. Are they? Okay, oh well. Yeah.
Through the chair, just to tag, I would like to see us approving this, and then the community board then becomes responsible for their promotional flags. Excuse me, and levying it forever and a day. That there's a one-off thing that's underway.
Anyone else? Yep. Thank you. I tend to agree with Peter McKenzie there as a one-off, and it's well, by an agreement with the event, it does add beautification to the town, and it brings an openness to the season and character, and so helps bring unity, and it also brings a sense of pride when referring to some community here. So, yes, from here, for the motion for the amount of $5,109. Can I get a move and a second for that motion?
If you to move.
Right.
I'll second, conditional to the rest of the funding being secure.
Yes. Yes. Would you like to elaborate on conditions that speak on condition to?
Yeah, if you can add the wording that we approve the sum of $5,190 conditional to the business association securing the remainder of the funding for the project to be completed.
Through the chair, if I may.
Yes.
The biggest hurdle will be with regards to TCDC's engineering report.
Can you add something to that, please, Dino?
Through the chair, the engineering assessments are being done this week. I don't have the update to them, but we should have that, the start of next week sometime. But the business association is aware of that, so it's a procedural thing. I'll also add that on a number of occasions, funders haven't been able to complete their portion of co-funding, and they've then been able to give funding back. So there will be regular communication between the parties, but putting a resolution to be very, very clear on that is an appropriate way to go as well.
So I believe the Senate parade is in exactly a month from now. And I would say that this funding would be conditional to the engineer's report. So,
I don't know if the two are linked. The Senate parade is a separate piece of funding.
oh, right.
But can I just, for the sake of just cutting to the chase, sometimes it pays to do that. You know, flags are provided by community groups in other places. For example, from Whanonga-Ā-HUI, for example, in Thames, where the same conditions are not applied in regard to engineering requirements. So, you know, we will just end up in a bureaucratic little nightmare if we condition these things. You know, if an engineering report comes back, then that advice would go to the to this group, and they would have to work through a solution to that. And so I suggest that we narrow our focus to what we've been asked for and not worry about the broader engineering aspects, which are staff issues from an operational point of view that we would let the staff manage and look after. So, right.
Anyone else okay to that? So so it's been moved by John and seconded by Councillor Barilovich. I'll move to motion. All those in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Motion is carried.
And can I also now move that we provide the funding for the Centre Parade at $500 and
$600.
Yeah.
So,
second.
I'll second it because I think it's a great thing. But and I just second that emotion, but I just make the comment that it would be nice if we had our roading contractor with some goodwill provide the road cones in the future. You know, they make a lot of money out of this council, and to provide a few cones for one day.
So, further to Tony, they're only hiring them, they're not asking for a traffic management plan. There's two SMSs that surely between the two of them can offer them 60 cones.
Yeah.
They've both got way more than that sitting in their yards.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, can I just sort of give a little bit of background to this that might help people in understanding it, that in previous years, this group has come to us for traffic management support, and that traffic management has been in excess of $5,000 for the event. We pushed back as a community board and said, can't you work with police and fire and work out an arrangement where traffic management isn't required? Surely, you know, we can have police at the front and fire at the back, and they can just have a moving traffic arrangement that they become responsible for. And I understand that is what they have completed. And so the costs for us or that they are seeking reimbursement for are very minor compared to what they have done in previous years after listening to our feedback and requests from previous community boards.
Right.
And again, they are a group that, why is the business association running a centre parade for the town, you know? So it's fantastic that they put their hand up to do that. I think, again, it's something that, you know, this group or some other group should also be getting in behind and doing, taking a leaf out of Thames, for example, where they have a terrific event here, which ends up back at the school, and it's a fundraiser for the school at the same time. So I just throw that in as a little bit of further background.
No, that's thanks for that. And understanding of where that cost comes in. Yeah. Right, so I've got John Grant was moving, and the second is Tony Barilovich. Is that right? Okay, so all in favour of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Motion carried. Can you,
Yeah.
back into the poll? Oh,
What's that?
one. Can I get a glass of water? Thanks. Sorry. Okay, moving on to 3.2, the Mercury-based sports and community hub appointments panel. Now I'd like to ask Steve Allen, District Manager, to present the report.
Thank you. Through the chair, again on behalf of Heather Bruce, on page 28 is a report. It's a request from the Mercury-based sports and community hub for a board representative, a community board representative, to be appointed to the appointments panel for the inaugural hub. It's fairly straightforward, set out in the report, so I'll leave it to the chair at that point. Happy to take any questions.
Right. Are there any questions, clarification? Regards to.
Yep, through the chair. Is there anybody with their hand up here in regard to taking on the role? And all speak.
I'm happy to myself forward.
So just point of clarification, this is for the appointment board.
Yep.
It's actually not for the future board.
No, sorry.
It is really to ensure
Yep.
that the process to elect the future board happens.
Yep. Sorry. Oh, okay, so, yep, is there anyone else? Notice? So, can I get a, Mercury Community Board receives the Mercury Sports and Community Hub Appointments Panel Report dated on the 30th of October 2005. That confirms, Community Board member Davis as the Community Board member of the Mercury Sports and Community Hub Appointments Panel.
For the order. Yeah, you've got to move one to receive it. And two, then you're gonna move. Right.
But you can do them.
We can take them. That's as long as we have, and we're going to sit in the next month.
So can I get a move and a second?
Just to receive the report.
For the chair, receive and to appoint.
I to appoint.
Um,
So you'll move that? Secondly? Yep, I'll second that. Yep. So, motion, all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. Before I get Esther to close off, I mentioned to Rob this morning, just with regards to our opening and closing of our meetings in the future, and I had mentioned before, well, I'd like to recognise the three official languages of New Zealand, one being sign language, the other being English, and the other being Te Reo Māori. I would therefore would be more than happy with each committee board member and giving them the offer of opening up the meeting individually as members, whether you choose to do that in English, sign language, or Te Reo Māori. And I think myself personally, I know that I'm a man of faith. I'm also a man of culture, but I'm also a man of diversity as well. So, And I know that it's really important to acknowledge all those things moving forward as a community board.
Yes, can I, with your indulgence, just say a couple of words? Sure. But also suggest that we haven't heard from the mayor. And it might be nice to have just a couple of words from the mayor. I just wanted to, as one of just a couple of us who were on the previous community board, just welcome everybody here today.
Thank you, John.
I think that we've got a lot of challenges ahead of ourselves, and there'll be some very challenging decisions that we're going to have to make as time goes on. I look forward to the robustness of the debate and working with each of you in regard to what we have to cover off. The amount of public interest is staggering. I think I said that is the longest public session that I have experienced in 3 years at either council or at a community board level. And I think that's a very positive reflection on the interest that we have within this district to what's taking place. I'd also want to welcome Michael around the table. It's terrific to have you here today, and hope you feel very welcome as part of what's going on. So, and hopefully we will see you a lot more at future meetings. So that's really all I just wanted to cover off before we close off. But yeah, it'd be nice to hear from our mayor as well.
Absolutely. Firstly, Ngā thank you. Thank you, Community Board, for welcoming me in here today. Just sitting around listening, I can see the passion that everybody brings to the table, but also your community that was here, those that were logged in. There's a real drive from the community to come and speak, see and share their thoughts about Mercury Bay. So just looking at the reports and just listening to everybody chip in and have some details and give us some feedback around that. It speaks of unity and where you want to move going forward. And it's really great to see. So I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad I came up, and I'm definitely coming back. I want to get to know each and every one of our community boards and try and interact as best as I can. It's like me and Peter, we are both at large, so we do have a big task ahead of us. But I think with regards to myself, it's just trying to understand what is your priorities in Mercury Bay, and trying to figure out how we can work together to make sure that we do tick off those priorities and just work for our communities. So thank you for the welcome and awesome meeting, and totally, definitely a long session with regards to public. Look forward to that as well.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. I just first of all want to thank all the staff who have contributed to this inaugural community board meeting, and in particular Esther, thank you so much for what you have done, the guidance you've given through this meeting. It's really appreciated. As a new meeting and a new board, we sort of try and understand and feel that way forward and so on. So thank you for that. I sit here very encouraged. It's a good beginning, but it is only the beginning. And as we learn, as we understand more about those things that are important to our communities, as we understand more about each other and learn to be working with each other. And my one comment here would be just to ensure that everybody feels that they're able to make their contribution. And I guess that's what encouraged me, as I said, that everybody made
their contribution. And thank you, Chip, for taking on the responsibility of chairing, because you will be in that seat from time to time. Really. But yeah, just a great beginning. And when we move into the induction, final induction session just after this, I'll have some other things I want to say. But thank you for the opportunity to speak. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Thank you all for the work that you are doing in the community.
Look, thank you. And I would also like to acknowledge Councillor Mike Barlett for coming all the way over here. I understand that you've actually taken lead just to be with us today. It speaks volumes to me. We definitely look forward to having your input and presence here in Mercury Bay. Also, huge thank you to our Mayor for making the effort, along with his governance staff, to come all the way over here. And my huge thanks to Esther, who's tightly fastened my training wheels. So
Everything, I think, might be a word that springs to mind.
thank you, Clemmy. But yes, so I do thank you for that, and also for our community board members and councillors here today. So I will leave it.
Richard, just before you formally close it, I just have one question which always concerns me about these community boards, and that is the input we've had from the public today. Have raised a number of questions, and I'm very conscious that they, by doing that, leave here with an expectation something will happen as a result of it. And we have not discussed any of those as a community board. We haven't set up any course of action or planning. I'm not suggesting that we necessarily go back and do that right now, but I think it's really important that there be a step taken on each one of those that links the community board and the operational aspects back to staff of what the next steps are in regard to the action, so that we can be seen to have listened and taken some action around it. So it's really a key thing. So just leave that thought with you.
Yeah.
It's building on John Grant's comment and what was previously stated during the meeting, that there was an expectation about that the next CB meeting would be after the Waitangi Day, so that it would make it February. I'd suggest that when you've had time to settle in, that's very soon in your existing role, maybe to consider that we have another CB meeting between now and Christmas, because the expectations that I believe might come down from the mountain will be that there's some input required.
Sure.
As part of that process. So please consider that.
Absolutely. I know we have this discussion up. Thanks.
Thank you, John, for raising it. I was going to raise it after the meeting was closed and just have an informal discussion with the board. There's a couple of factors that come into play here. One is we're not sure what the board delegations are going to be yet. So that will get firmed up this month. But also capturing this public input in a way that the board can start to prioritise and work through it. We used to have, and I don't know if it's still done, an action schedule on the agenda.
Yeah.
So that would go into the action schedule, and whether it was just a written response from the staff or whether it would go into the LTP or the annual plan or whatever, just so we can keep track of it. So
yeah, I know John's brought it up, and so thank you, but I think we'll do this to discuss that. So I know that we can carry this on.
Yeah.
It's just close this meeting.
Yeah, but I think the important point is that the huge interest we had today, those people have left with a set of expectations.
Yeah.
So therefore, some communication to the ones who've submitted, specifically the ones who've done it in writing, the likes, over time you will have to develop, we will have to develop a process.
Yeah.
And since you've got a lot of experience around the table, I'd encourage you to tap into that.
Yeah.
But then propose a mechanism, an operational mechanism in that context to get back to that sooner rather than later.
I think we can have this discussion after. Thank you.
Stand for it, but here, please. Tēnei te kaupapa e, tēnei te wānanga ka e, te Māori o te kaupapa ka whakamoe e, te Māori o te wānanga ka whakamoe e, kua kia ranga, kua kia raro hui e, hui e, tāu. This regulation is Chairperson. Transition. It is completed, it is done. We have achieved our purpose and we've completed our forum. Let the purpose of our gathering rest for now. Let the vitality of our discussions replenish. We depart with fulfilled hearts and minds bonded in common goal and unity. Thank you.
Honour and glory to God, peace on earth, goodwill to all people. Lord, develop a new heart inside all of us. Instill in us your sacred spirit. Help us, guide us in all the things we need to learn today. Amen.
Yeah.